A high-ranking government official walks into the United States Senate. Reporters swarm him with questions he refuses to answer.
And stuff. So I ask very insightful, cutting questions. I say to him, massage table in the middle of your house? How often you have a massage? And he says, every day. And then he gets weirdly close to me.
Ooh.
And he says, and the right kind of massage.
Ooh.
Now my wife is standing here. So she looks at me and I look at her and we say, I'm sorry, we have to go. And we left. And in the 6 or 8 steps it takes to get from his house to my house, my wife and I decided that I will never be in the room with that disgusting person ever again.
Really?
So I was never in the room with him socially.
Nominee Howard Lutnick appeared before the United States Senate this week for his confirmation hearing. For those unfamiliar, the Commerce Secretary oversees critical agencies including the Census Bureau, Patent and Trademark Office, and plays a major role in U.S. trade policy.
Lutnick, I think you understand the root of concern here. It's the way you described very emphatically your first encounter with him in his apartment, said you were disgusted, would never have any contact with him again. Did you, in fact, make the visit to Jeffrey Epstein's private island?
I did have lunch with him as I was on a boat going across on a family vacation. My wife was with me, as were my 4 children and nannies. I had another couple they were there as well with their children, and we had lunch on the island. That is true, for an hour, and we left with all of my children, with my nannies and my wife, all together. We were on family vacation. We were not apart. To suggest there was anything untoward about that in 2012, I don't recall why we did it, but
Mr. Secretary, again,
become matters of national importance. The discrepancy raised questions that transcend partisan politics. Did Lutnick misremember? Did he mischaracterize? Or was there an intentional minimization of documented relationships? Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen led much of the questioning during the hearing. His approach demonstrated how Senate oversight functions when exercised properly, methodical, evidence-based, and focused on reconciling contradictions. Senator Van Hollen began by referencing Lutnick's previous public characterization, that he found Epstein disgusting after one 2005 encounter and had no subsequent contact. Then, Van Hollen presented the documented evidence of the 2012 island visit. Lutnick's response acknowledged the visit, but characterized it as a brief lunch stop during a family vacation.
We weren't aware that he had actually been to Jeffrey Epstein's home. And look, this is something that we would have possibly known had the full files been released. And he basically laid out a possibility in this sweetheart deal that Jeffrey Epstein got, of course, from Alex Acosta, another former cabinet secretary of Donald Trump's, and what was happening in exchange for that. This idea that there was a blackmail going on, that Jeffrey Epstein has videos and documentation and files on these powerful men that he was somehow using to his advantage. And this is all why getting our hands on the full files and documents is so important. Whether it's Peter Thiel now being involved, Elon Musk possibly going to Epstein Island, Lutnick involved, what's been happening with Acosta, the more and more that comes out, I think it's pretty clear that there are a lot of powerful men in politics and business across the country and world that do not want these Epstein files to come out. And so we are committed, we're working hard, and I hope to have some very good progress soon to report on the financial documents.
With no subsequent contact. The shift from one meeting, never again, to maybe 2 meetings over 14 years represents a significant revision of his narrative. One of the most unsettling lines of questioning involved references in the Epstein files to discussions about childcare providers, specifically, communications suggesting Epstein expressed interest in meeting a childcare provider employed by Lutnick. Senator Van Hollen asked directly, "Do you know whether the nanny that you had on that trip was the same nanny that Jeffrey Epstein expressed interest in meeting?" Lutnick's response, "No, I have no idea about that whole thing. I mean, I don't recall it having anything to do with me. And I don't know that." This exchange is significant for several reasons. First, It demonstrates the level of detail contained in the public documents. Second, it raises questions about what due diligence Lutnick conducted before making that 2012 visit to ensure the safety of everyone in his party, particularly given Epstein's 2008 conviction. Senator Van Hollen noted the obvious concern. This guy was a convicted offender and obviously not a great place for kids and nannies. The senator also asked whether Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's associate who was later convicted on multiple charges, was present during the 2012 visit. Lutnick stated no. These questions aren't gratuitous. They're directly relevant to assessing judgment, decision-making, and the nominee's awareness of risk factors when he chose to bring his family to visit a convicted offender on a private island. Beyond the Senate hearing itself, Lutnick has made numerous media appearances to defend his record and support the administration he hopes to serve. In these appearances, he's adopted a notably deferential tone toward the president, describing Trump's power and strength in language that some observers find excessive for someone seeking to serve in a professional governmental capacity. While loyalty to the administration once serves as expected, the nature and degree of public flattery has raised eyebrows among commentators who value independent judgment in cabinet officials. We've seen how documented evidence can directly contradict prior public statements, creating credibility problems that senators must evaluate. And we've explored why accuracy and honesty in public statements matter when someone seeks positions of governmental authority. This story isn't finished. The Senate still must vote on Lutnick's confirmation. That vote will reveal whether senators prioritize documented credibility over political loyalty. As citizens, we have a responsibility to pay attention to these confirmation processes. The people appointed to cabinet positions make decisions that affect millions of Americans. We deserve leaders who are honest, transparent, and accountable. Subscribe for more deep dives into the political processes that shape our democracy. Hit the notification bell so you never miss when we break down complex governmental issues into understandable content. Thanks for watching, stay informed, stay engaged, and I'll see you in the next video.